the training, when you build the confidence, you start believing in yourself more. I believe in who I am in my industry. An Olympian from 1972 from Guyana who walked into our dojo in Bayshore. Well, I moved around with him. That guy threw me the hardest I've ever been thrown. My bones rattled. And the two guys come between the car. Guy pulls a knife, and I just went into action. Everything you train for is that moment.
Yeah.
And it comes out of you because you're doing it all the time for all these years.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Burn Down Podcast. Today we have in the studio Sensei Bonanno. He's been featured in the 15th edition of Deadly Art of Survival. Sensei Bonanno, Mr. Frank Bonanno, what's going on?
How you guys doing?
It's good to see you.
Same here, man.
Yeah, good to see you again. We saw you at our last our Matador's Long Island Cigar event.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you making the trek out from you were in the city coming back on your way home to stop off here. So we appreciate you joining us here on the Burn Down.
Yeah, man. It took quite a while to get here.
Yeah, it usually does.
Yeah.
But the important thing is you prepared and got here 30 to 40 minutes early. So we appreciate that. Punctual with time.
That is
you know?
Yeah. That comes from the martial arts background, I bet. That's the discipline that comes from the martial arts background.
100%.
You got to be on time.
That's it. So
Man,
Frank,
if you were late, you would do push-ups.
Oh yeah, we used to
Suicides.
run. I used to run. Yeah,
Suicides.
Run.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Keep running and don't run. Either you throw up or I tell you to stop. One of us. That's it.
So Frank, we met you a few months ago at one of our Blueprint Cigar events at Long Island Cigar, and we got to talking and we understood a little bit more about your background. And we've never had anyone who has a martial arts background, especially a sensei,
Right?
especially who likes cigars.
At the highest level.
Yes.
You were explaining us earlier. There's in the article, it's in here. There's 3 words that mean like the licensed highest level instructor that you can get. So it's a pretty prestigious title.
Correct.
So how did you get into martial arts? Right, like how did that all start? Because you said you've been doing it for 20 plus years. What is it?
Oh, no,
longer than that?
Over 40.
Over
years.
40 plus years.
Yeah,
Gee,
over
that's
40. Yeah. Well, it all started from watching Bruce Lee on the Green Hornet.
Oh wow!
Really?
Yeah. And being a young kid, you're amazed by it. Back then you're watching Batman and all the TV shows of then. Martial arts still wasn't really big. There was not many schools in the neighborhood, right? So eventually, I have an older brother Angelo. He started looking around in the area.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in North Merrick.
Okay, Long Island.
Yeah, Long Island. So he brought me to the school that really changed my life, and I just stayed with it. It was interest. It was learning how to take care of myself, how to defend myself, because I was a smaller person. I was not big, probably at that time 132 pounds.
Wow.
5'2", 5'3", and pushed around, bullied a little bit, and I didn't like that. I would fight back. But I said, I need to learn something. And as my brother, also a small person, he started training first and then eventually took me to the school in Bayshore where my teacher was. And,
now, what style of...
It was Ju-Jitsu.
It was Ju-Jitsu. And then you had stuck with that your whole life.
Yeah. Ju-Jitsu, this was combat Ju-Jitsu. This was more for street, not sport.
Now, what's the difference between...
Well, you have BJJ, which is a sport, can be used as a self-defense, but back when we were studying was a traditional Japanese art with punching, kicking, throwing, arm bars, chokes, the whole 9 yards, but geared to defend, utilize on the street. My teacher was a first grade detective in Manhattan. So back then, he used to come back with a lot of stories of his day, of what he did, what he used. and was constantly changing the system, what we call Dainan Wanru, which means Great South Bay. The school was in Bayshore on the Great South Bay. So in tradition, Japanese would usually name the name of their style of school by the region, the village they were in, right? So he took that and he got the name. And again, I was 17 years old with him. And I stayed with him up until his retirement in 1991, when he bestowed upon me the high ranking of, Menkyo Kaiden Shihan.
And what is that?
Which is the licensed master instructor. Okay.
So at that point, so you came in at 17, which is, like you said, you were bullied in school, and 17 is
still high school.
That's high school. That's a junior in high school, and that's when bullying is probably getting to its highest. You got some guys that are much bigger, and so at 17 up until 91 was what, like 20 something years at that time?
Yeah, probably.
When he retired.
I started with him 1975. Is the year I started.
Okay, so that's 16 years.
Yeah.
And then you get bestowed the highest level.
Right.
And then you continue on for another 30 years.
What he asked me to do was he started bringing in a judo instructor, which judo and jiu-jitsu is very close because they really are from the same world, the same art. But the judo was more sport oriented, but it really developed more of the throwing and the breaking of the balance, entering, footwork. That was different.
The judo did?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I first met my first judo teacher, a gentleman by the name of Sensei Walter Ring, he tossed me around like I was nothing. And already I had this timing. I was a young buck still, right? And I couldn't. This guy had to be late 50s, 60s.
So how this was when you already became the master?
Yeah.
So you were already 16 plus years bestowed upon the highest level, and you meet this guy, and he's tossing you around.
The judo guy I met in 1986 or 87.
Okay, but you had some time. I
still had,
And now this guy's throwing you around, and he's 40 years old, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah, and it was a total enlightenment in the whole. Yeah, I remember the first experience, and my jiu-jitsu teacher named we called him O-Sensei, which means great teacher. Said, Frank, get in the back, get dressed. We got a judo teacher here tonight. I want you to move around when I'm in the back. He said, all right. You see this little Chinese guy. And he says, Frank, I heard all about you. Get dressed, come get warmed up, and let's move around. So right away, I'm like, "Who's this guy?"
You're like, "I'm about to toss this guy."
When they say move around, you mean like get active?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I'm assuming like you're not full on 100%, like what for lack of a better term, sparring.
No.
But you're just kind of like moving together and like trying to warm up a little bit.
In judo, they call it randori. Where it is sparring, but it's no punch, no kick.
You're not.
It's grapple, throw. Right? Try to throw. So I got dressed, warmed up, came out, and grabbed onto him, and within 15 seconds, I was in flight. I was in the air, and I hit the ground.
Talk about a wake-up call.
I was like, what the hell just happened? And to me, I was amazed. And then my teacher, Richard, what's his name, Richard Lazarus, he's looking at me and like this on the table, and he's laughing. And because he set you up.
He knew. He knew. Yeah, he knew.
Yeah.
He knew.
So I got back up. I said, let's do it again. And
15 seconds? You're on your back?
Then again, I'm moving around. Same throw. And I got up. I shook his hand. I said, you got to show me what you did. I just didn't feel it because he was so good at it. He said, you know what you're doing wrong? I said, what? You're leaning forward. I said, just from leaning forward? He goes, you're leaning forward. Your weight, you're off. And he just took me. To me, it was like, all right.
How did he flip you? He flipped you like over his head?
I'll call it. You ever see Captain Kirk throw from Star Trek?
Yeah.
I call it the captain. It's called Tomonagi. Foot and stomach throw.
Oh, wow.
He went under, threw me, put his foot in me, and just whoop right over.
So he like kind of did one of these where you
got
leaned on
under
his
me,
back.
yeah.
So you were leaning forward. He kind of just pulled you, and that's it.
That
Gone.
was it.
Oh, okay. And
So
what is that move called?
Tomonagi.
Tomonagi.
Yeah,
Okay.
Tomonagi. So anyway, I stayed with him and I trained with him, and I really took a liking to that. So when I inherited the system,
And when you say you inherited a system, what does that mean?
that means he retired and gave me the reins.
Your instructor who was under your wing or under his wing.
You were
I
under
was
his wing. Yeah.
right,
Okay.
right. He said, "Listen, I'm retiring. I want you to have it, you know." And one thing he said is, "I want you to bring the judo in fully and develop it in my system." So I said, "Okay." So it was part of my charge. This is your charge. You do this, you know. And then I continued my studies under Walter Ring Sensei, and then he said, "Listen, you know, I've taught you a lot, but I can only do you so much. You need to advance more. I think you should train with Matsumura Sensei." And I'm like, "Well, how do I get to him?" He said, "I'll make the introduction. You come to the Nakibayashi tournament. He'll be there, and I'll make the introduction." So I went to the tournament.
Which is on Long Island?
Yeah, it was. I think it was in Queens.
Okay.
Yeah, you know.
Which, for those that don't know, Queens is technically
Right.
part of Long Island.
Right,
technically.
But
Everybody's like, Queens is
And
Long
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And Brooklyn.
Technically, it's part of Long Island.
yeah.
Okay.
And Brooklyn, too. Don't forget it.
So you go to this tournament, you meet this.
yeah,
you get a little lighter.
listen, he is considered the vanguard of judo. Now, I didn't know much about him, but what I heard was the guy was awesome.
And you had never met him before.
Never met him before. So I went in, he made the introduction, and Matsumura says, "Come with me out." We went out into the hallway. Now, he speaks English, but very broken. But he still can speak and understand it. So he asked me a few questions, and I answered him. And the last thing he said to me was, "You miss lesson, lesson's over." So I looked at him, and I got what that was. Like, you miss a lesson, lesson's over. That means you're done.
That's why he showed up 45 minutes early.
So anyway, then I started studying under him, and that was a whole nother world for me. And the beauty of that was learning authentic Kodokan judo. You know, his teacher was Sensei Ida. Ida trained under Jigoro Kano, who was the founder of judo.
Oh, so this is
the lineage was very, very small. And when I started doing seminars,
Now, I don't want to cut you off, but how far back was judo created?
not long ago. Judo goes back into the started in 1890s.
Okay, so then there was this guy who had taught one, and then had taught the person who taught you.
Right.
Okay.
So
It's upside down.
yeah,
It's the
go
cutter.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's the
sorry.
punch part.
Yeah. Anyway, let me just light this up.
So there's been 1, 2, and then so you're kind of the fourth, I guess, generation of this from judo, from the person that created it had taught somebody, had taught you.
But he had many students, and he put students into the Olympics too. I was not a big competitor. That wasn't my shtick. I wasn't looking to do that. I did what I had to do for it, but I was more interested in getting the knowledge and learning.
So that actually brings up a question I had, because we had talked about this before we started recording a little bit. Was there's a lot of people just assume, because of martial arts, they just assume that people go in for combat, for self-defense, for combat, for hitting people, for throwing people, for learning grapple and learning all these different submissions and whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And then there's a side of it for competition, right, where people aren't necessarily going in to learn how to defend themselves on the street. They're going into sport, to go to the Olympics, where you're not really trying to hurt the other person, you're just trying to score points, right? But then there's people like you that aren't really like you. Okay, you had started it out of a necessity because you said you were smaller, you're getting bullied, you needed to learn, but then you fell in love with it for a different reason. You didn't go in for sport. You weren't going in because you started learning for self-defense, but it grew into something more. So what would you say is
again, the beginning stages of my training, I was getting beat up in the dojo because it was fighting, sparring.
Right.
It was full. I mean, there was no pads either. We didn't wear, we did bare hands. So if I had bloody noses, fat lip, and there was one particular sensei in the class that really helped me. His name was Jim Rivera. He was really the top guy in the class at the time. He was unbelievable. And I used to try to emulate him. I watched him because when I started, I was at the end of the line. He was at the head of the line, and he ran the line. And it was very strict. If you wiped your sweat, you were down for push-ups. If you broke balance, you were down for push-ups. You broke stance, down for push-ups. It was, believe me, we did.
So when you started, you did a lot of push-ups.
Yeah, a lot of push-ups, jumping jacks. Yeah. You did. Yeah, that's what you did. But it was. Sometimes the classes would go 3-4 hours. And you're just underneath you. It's wet from all the sweat.
It probably got to a point where you just stopped sweating because it's just.
Yeah, man.
I just sweat everything out. There's nothing left.
Yeah. So it was very, very tough, strict, but the discipline, you needed that discipline because he wanted to make sure you wouldn't break, And again, Jim wouldn't give up on me. He also had a brother, John, that was also tough. I mean, these two guys took a liking to me and just wouldn't give up, would make me do more than what I wanted to do, and they kept driving me. So I have I always thank them for that, what they brought me to, because that helped me, that inspired me. When you see when you see these guys move, you're like, wow, and going out to the clubs at the time, we got into some battles.
I was gonna ask you about this because you had said originally, you were getting bullied. You went in, you started learning some self-defense. You were getting some beat up.
Right.
So after because you obviously have trained at this point for a significant amount of time.
Right.
And, you're in your late 20s, you're in your early 30s, you're probably going out and mingling and going to dance clubs and stuff.
In the 80s now?
So now you probably have a newfound level of confidence where I'm not going to get pushed around anymore. Anybody steps up to me, I'm going to put you on your ass before you even know what happened, right?
Right?
So has there been a time when you just said you were going out to clubs and there's been a couple of scraps that happen?
Yeah, but they don't last long.
No, of course, because the guy steps up to you and before he blinks, he's on the floor.
But not only that, it's, you learn maneuverability. You learn how to get out, to escape. You learn how to hit and run. You learn how to, you don't stand there because it's never one guy. It's three.
Oh,
it's four.
And it's usually if it's one guy that you think it's one guy, he's probably got 3 or 4 other buddies that are going to be there in 2 seconds.
Yeah. But I always got out of it and would be able to escape and do what I had to do up until the recent thing that happened to me was 5 years ago.
I think you had told me about. Yeah, right? You had told me about
where
this.
I was attacked by 2 guys, and because my training said attack first, don't wait. Right? They thought they did their thing. They thought I was going to step back and put my hands up, and I didn't. I just went on them, and it was over in 30 seconds.
What was the situation?
I was I was house sitting for my brother-in-law. I was uptown, 99th Street, Broadway. Last night I was there. I was doing it for 2 weeks. They must have been checking me out. Every night I come home, same time, walk down the same street, and the 2 guys come between a car. The guy pulls a knife, and I just went into action,
Not even hesitating.
I didn't hesitate because they thought I was going to step back. They see an older guy, a little pudgy that I am, he doesn't. But I just went right into it. And again, everything you train for is that moment.
Yeah.
And it comes out of you because you're doing it all the time for all these years.
It's just like it's like second nature.
To tell you the truth, I was scared that I hurt them bad because they were down on the ground. I ran because I didn't know. The cops come today. They're gonna arrest me.
Yeah,
of
course.
And then now it's, I just took off.
So what happened? I remember you were saying the guy pulled the knife. You kicked the knife out of his hand.
I did what they call a crescent kick, right? And then I kicked him right in the knee.
Oh yeah, so he's
him down.
So he's down.
The other guy now, I started losing my balance after that, leaning forward. The other guy pulled my shoulder around, and he helped rebalance me. But then I palmed my hand, slapped him on the side of the ear hard, and then reached under and grabbed his lat, and I did a throw on him. I just picked him up and threw him on the sidewalk.
And then just booked it.
And I just booked it. Yeah, because I heard crack. You hear that.
Oh, you probably busted a rib. Yeah.
So
I mean, that's like every action flick. It sounds like it's from a movie scene. Guys
and it's probably
walking down the street, pulls out a knife, and pop, 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 pop.
Probably all happened in a matter of like 20 seconds, if that.
So when I ran, my heart was pumping. When I got into my brother-in-law's apartment, first thing I did, I reached for aspirin. Because I'm like, I don't want to have a heart attack.
I gotta calm down.
I took 2 aspirin, and I just jumped in the shower, turned the water on, I laid in the bathtub for 45 minutes.
Cold water?
No, I put warm water on.
Cold, ice cold. Just bring that temp down a little bit.
And I just chilled out and just waited until my heartbeat came down, and
Those two guys probably like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Let's reevaluate our occupational choice. So what is the significance of leaning forward? So what is the significance? Because I've heard you mention a few times. So you don't want to lean forward.
Wherever your head is leaning, that's where you balance it. You got to lean. If you lean forward with your head, you're off balance. Your posture should always try to be straight, and your feet base under your shoulders.
Okay.
Right. If you even when you're shifting into a fighting stance,
is that why they're all straight back and postured up when they pose like a Bruce Lee? Right. I always imagine they're always.
I don't know. I don't think not for posing or anything. I just think
not necessarily posing, but like when they get in their fighting stance, they're straight up. They have their back straight, their head straight.
Yeah.
Now is it? I heard that you're always supposed to be on your toes. Is that true? That you're never supposed to be
flat-footed
on your heels? You're always supposed to be up on your toes?
I always call it slightly heel off the ground, where you could slide a piece of paper under it.
Now, what's the significance of that? Because I've heard that before, and not just
you can spring into action a lot quicker.
It's quicker.
Yeah. Even when I walk a certain way where I can move quick. And, in judo, I'm showing people how to step, how to pivot. Some people can't even pivot on their feet, And then, you can look at a guy and you see if he's standing flat-footed, you got him.
Yeah.
He's off balance,
That's actually because it reminds me of in basketball, you used to be able to, depending on how a guy was standing, you used to be able to just, like, for instance, if you were, we used to call it pulling out the chair. So if you're playing, you're familiar with this term?
I've heard this term, yeah.
So the term is called pulling out the chair, and it's when you're playing defense on somebody who's trying to back you down.
Yeah.
Right? When they teach you on how to back somebody down, you're supposed to be balanced, and you're almost in like a squat position.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to be centered over your feet, right?
Yeah.
And as a defense, right, you're kind of put your chest against his back, and you're trying to body him up. But you can always tell that some people that aren't balanced properly, they're leaning a little bit too far back because they're trying to sit on your leg.
Yeah.
So when you notice that, the next time that they try to like back up into you, you just pull your leg out and they fall right on their ass and you steal the ball, and it's called pulling out the chair because they're trying to sit on your leg so that you can't move, because if they get on your leg, they're kind of pinning you down and you can't really So you feel that little bit of off balance, you just pull out the chair, he falls on his ass, looks like an idiot, you pick the ball up. So that's kind of very similar, where you can sense I'm assuming too when you're doing your sparring, you can sense when somebody's a little bit leaning one way, off balance. You're grappling him. You're like, oh, I can use that.
When a guy grabs you, you know where his weight is, right?
Yeah.
If I were to grab you and start tugging you, I know where your weight's going. I know where your energy's going.
You're trying to pull.
If I grab you, you're not going to feel anything. I'm going to hold on to you, but you don't know what's happening yet.
So, like, if I were to grab you and you feel, and I'm trying to pull you this way,
I'm going to use my.
You're going right on top. Yeah, right on top.
I'm going to take it.
So you could just push into him because he's already going like this.
And there's foot sweeps, leg reaps. There's all kinds of things that take you backwards, take you sideways.
And if he's like trying to push you, you can pull him and
So I feel when I
and
move around with my students, I say grab me, and when I grab them, I'm like, you feel me? No, good.
So you don't know what's coming.
Right. I said you have to be non-telegraphic. You can't tell the guy what you're going to do. As soon as you grab and you start tugging or pulling, or even if you're leaning, I can feel you lean on me. How many times I tell him, stand straight up, I feel your weight on me.
And that's probably what that guy did when he felt your weight coming forward, and he just rolled backwards and tossed you over his head.
That's what he did.
And you're going to Superman. Oh, shit.
That's what happened, man. Listen, I also had another an Olympian from 1972. It was a gentleman from Guyana who walked into our dojo in Bayshore. He saw judo. He came in. He showed his credentials. He was Guyana judo coach plus an Olympian. Well, I moved around with him. That guy threw me the hardest I've ever been thrown. I felt the concrete through the mat.
They shake you up a little bit.
My bones rattled. And when I got up, he looked at me and goes, "Oh, Frankie, what happened?" I said, I'm looking at him like, what the hell was that? My Suki Tanden, he's called it. His hara, where the energy comes from, 2-3 inches below your navel. That's strong. So when he threw me, I felt a hoi, and that's what buried me into the ground.
That sounds like a sumo wrestler.
Dude. But the guy was incredible.
You're like, you probably got like a shockwave. You're like, whoa,
man,
what the?
So what is that? It gives him an extra little oomph when he's tossing.
Yeah,
it's probably his core. It's probably his core strength, tightening.
Yeah,
it's like the same thing when you. I imagine it whenever powerlifting. I used to do some powerlifting, and same thing. Like I remember when we were squatting the other day, and I was like, all right, breathe into your balls.
Yeah,
it's like breathe for the lack of a better, breathe into your balls and tighten your core as hard as you can. Tighten it,
right,
and then squat up.
Yeah,
and you failed beforehand, but then you hit it afterwards. That's probably the same thing.
Yeah,
it's like
that's exactly
you
what
do the throw without doing that, and then you do the throw with
that guy on my
that.
shoulder in that magazine.
Oh yeah, I want to show them.
260 pounds. I went and just lifted him.
Yeah,
you got to know how to lift.
You got to brace. Let me see this.
You got it, right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, show that to them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly like lifting is whenever you're lift. They say you have to brace because you can't. Unless you have a firm, that's sick, 260 pounds. Unless you have a firm base for any sort of lift, you can't expect to lift heavy weight unless you have a firm base, right? Like if you have a whole bunch of weight on your back and your entire core is not braced, how you expect to explode up when nothing is is braced for impact, basically.
Sure.
So I can imagine the same thing as when if he were to throw you. Without doing that brace, he probably would have thrown you, but it wouldn't have been as impactful. And then he does that and throws you, and you're like, "Whoa, that was he threw me a little bit harder on that one."
Well,
so
they consider it a ki. It's not a yell, but it's an internal thing that you breathe out, but you're tightening that core, but you're learning how to basically squeeze your butt cheeks together, right? You got to tighten them up, and like you just said, with your nuts.
You got to brace, man.
Right, and it adds a lot of power to it. So when he threw me, man. I mean, again, that was another guy who gave me another side of judo, intense judo, and he passed away quite a few years ago with cancer, and I lost my other judo, Walter Ing Sensei, to cancer also, Matsumura is still alive. I think he's 86 years old now, but slowed down. But even though when I got on the mat with him, I felt like I had a 400-pound guy on me. He only weighs 158 pounds. He knows how to brace,
Wow.
And again, it's amazing when you see the talent and the real expertise of the arts, the guys that really know their stuff. And I've had some great teachers that worked with me, and again, I carry on that through my teachings,
So what are you doing? What are you doing now? So you had said,
Well, I'm teaching now. Well, right now we're having the convention March 3rd for this magazine in Manhattan. So I set up a booth. I had a banner made. I got flyers. I got cards I'm handing out. I'm going to try to, get some more people to come under me. I'm currently teaching in Woodhaven on Saturdays. I do a 2-hour session.
And how many people do you have under you right now?
10 that come there. And then plus I have a few kids from my neighborhood that I teach, right? I got 6 kids, my 2 grandsons, and I got 4 of their friends.
Now, I'm assuming that there's different classes, right? Are they all?
No, I put them all in one.
Everything together. Kids learning what the adults are learning.
Yeah. My kids, I do really separate the young guys. I've been working with them. I do in my backyard during the summer, and I start from June. This year I'm going to start like April, mid-April. As soon as it gets nice out.
Yeah, hopefully it gets nice.
I got a big mat out, and the kids come. I don't charge the parents. It's all free. And I did it for my grandsons, and they made yellow belt last November. Now I continue them to the next level.
So explain to us because I was always interested in what are the different belts, right? I obviously know that black belt is the highest, right? But where do you start?
Let me explain black belt. Black belt is an advanced beginner.
Okay.
Black belt means, all right, I went through all the basic training. Now I'm ready to advance. And so now I can't cry. I can't complain. I'm ready. Anything.
So what's after black? Is it like double, triple?
No, you go up in degrees. It's a degree.
What's the highest you can go?
10th.
Okay, so does that mean that you've earned a black belt 10 times over? Like what is the typical time period, right?
Oh, that could take a long time. Take 50 years, 60 years
to get to 10th degree.
Yeah, some people never make it to that.
And there's nothing higher than 10th degree.
Nope. And really, today, if you look at it, there are a lot who claim they are, but reality is.
How do you prove that you are?
Well, you need to have credentials to show, right?
Credentials. And what are these credentials that you get?
Well, again, it all depends on the system you're involved, the school, the art, who's awarding you,
Are they like
in Judo, we have United States Judo Association and USA Judo, which you have to follow certain guidelines. You need to get certified. Like I was just certified as a national coach, right? We have to go through safe sport, concussion training. This is all in the judo world, man, because they also background checks. And also for rank, you have to do certain techniques, put the time in grade, they call it, participate. Then, if you have a teacher above you, he can recommend promotion, which it goes to a board. We recommend Frank Bonanno for 5th Dan. And they say they go through all the things he's supposed to do. Yes, they have all the points. Yeah, so it's organized. It's it's like going to school, right? Other schools, people have other manuals or things they have to do within their system, But if you look at the traditional Shotokan Karate, Isshin-ryu, Goju-ryu, they all have a lineage to follow, and the kata, forms, weapons, they all have to follow a certain guideline to get them up. And it's time,
So what would be the difference between? So you had said once you get to black belt, I imagine that your first belt you learn certain techniques, and then to get from that belt to the next belt, there's a little bit more techniques, and then the next, and then once you get to black belt, you had said you're an advanced beginner. You've learned all of the techniques.
Right.
Now it's time to going into advanced. Do you learn more? Is it when you finally get to black belt, and now you're going into the 2nd degree, 3rd degree, 4th? From black belt on, are you learning more techniques, or are you further mastering the techniques you already do?
You're further mastering, and then you're learning more.
So it's both. Okay.
Right. You could be now doing, instead of, and I'm just giving an example, combinations. maybe doing 10 combinations now as opposed to 5, right? Your speed, you're getting faster. Your precision is better. You're also developing your teaching skills now. How to teach the art, right? How to, how to be able to get somebody up to a certain level. So that's all part of the study of it.
Are there things that 10th degree black belts know that 9th degree doesn't?
No.
What point is it where there's really nothing else to learn?
All of that, again, all that mean is you have put the time in and you've developed everything in that curriculum to be at that level.
Are there, is there a portion of it, when you get to X degree black belt that you're starting to create your own techniques? Of after learning so many and advancing
that's
your...
That's a good question, but how much more do you think?
Well, I'm not sure.
Martial arts is thousands of years old.
Right. Well, I imagine that there could be, there's things that people are doing today that they weren't doing 500 years ago. I imagine there's different techniques.
Today you're mixing more. You have guys doing more mixed martial arts.
Right.
So they may now go here and study there, bring it into what they were doing. They'll do it over there. And so that's what you have,
Because I imagine that,
But a punch is a punch, a kick is a kick, right?
To an extent, I imagine. Yeah, to an extent.
And
different types of...
Who's faster? Again, look at the guys in UFC. Look how that first started, and look where it is today.
Yeah, there's so much more that,
right?
That, like you said, there's the mixed martial arts where everybody is incorporating, boxing and wrestling and judo and BJJ and all these, and karate and all these things into one.
Are you into UFC? Do you like watching UFC?
I used to, not much anymore. Again, I'm not really into that type of thing. I like more of the traditional stuff and the more spiritual side of
sure. I
see
you have the scar here on your head to your eyebrow. Was that from karate or Ju-Jitsu?
No.
I
would love to tell you that.
Was that when that guy tossed you on your ass? You're like, whoa.
That's for a different story off camera.
That was a kid injury.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So
no. So where does this come into play? How did you get into this magazine here? So how does this work? So this is The Deadly Art of Survival, the 15th edition. The 16th just came out. This came out a few months ago, you said, right?
Yeah, that came out a few months ago.
So how does one get into this? What was that process?
Well, yeah, my name was given to them, and then I met with the owner of the magazine, Nathan Ingram, and we had lunch for 2 hours. He wanted to know who I was, where I came from, and and I gather they do a little vetting process where they find out, and then of course they talk to a lot of people, and came back,
check the references.
Yeah. So, right. and he explained that why he, like, one of the reasons he put me in is because who I am and what I represent, and that's what he liked. He wanted my story to be out. He goes, because guys like you don't get your story put out there. It's all about the Hollywood stars and who's in the movies, and I want to bring the grassroots guys out.
And what was it that he liked about you so much? You're very traditional.
But again, who I am, my personality, the way I train, the way I represented myself and what I do. He I was humble.
Not again, the opposite of Hollywood guys, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, there's something in here that I actually want to read. It was a quote from you that was in this article, and I want you to kind of elaborate on this because I think it's a very important aspect of why you train in what you do. It says among those lessons, never give up, strive to be the best, and practice patience, kindness, sincerity, and understanding. Utilize your training and skills and include them in your everyday life. Right. It has helped me in the boardroom many times. Practice what you preach and defend those who cannot defend themselves.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about some of those things that you learn throughout practicing martial arts that translate into your everyday life. Because you had said right here that they helped you in the boardroom. Right, so what are some of those things that you're talking about?
I can tell you, because in my world, in my business, in construction, and I was one of the team members who built 9/11 Memorial. So in order to get that position, I had to sell myself to, I had 10 people in a room questioning me who I was. And
why should we give you this?
Why should we give you? I was the main plumbing senior project manager for the fountains. The 2 waterfall features was all plumbing.
Oh, the infinity.
Yeah, the infinity pools. So, again, my confidence and the way I represent myself in these meetings, this helped me get to that point. My teacher, my jiu-jitsu teacher, was a great speaker. And I used to watch him all the time. He could grab an audience. When we do a demonstration, he knew how to grab an audience. And I used to watch him, and he was very charismatic. He could capture you like that. So the training, when you build the confidence, you start believing in yourself more. And now I believe in who I am in my industry. Right? Like I said, I work for a developer now. Did hotels and condos, high-rise in the city. Traveled to L.A. All that, I represent them. I do change order meetings. I'm talking about millions of dollars in change orders.
He knows all about change orders.
Right. But I can't let the contractors know they can get over on me. So I have to have when I walk into a room, I have to have that confidence that, hey guys, how you doing? We're ready to do business today? Okay, good. Well, I don't believe that. And then when I start, citing things that I recognize that's bullshit, they pick up on, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Right. So again, that's how my martial art training has helped me in my work career. Right. So
there's a lot of the discipline and the confidence that it builds in yourself. Because I imagine that you probably think back as how different your life would have been had you not gone to that school in the beginning and not built the confidence that you've built over the 40 plus years of training like this. Because this is, like you said, this is strict. It is discipline. There's no bullshit. There's no whining. There's no crying. There is train and shut up.
Right.
Okay. Right. And if you don't like it, GTFO.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I got a bunch of other guys that are willing to put in the work and to be great at something. And that level of discipline, that level of commitment and perseverance to achieve a high level in anything translates into everything that you do in life.
It does.
It's hard to say, but if you didn't take this route of jiu-jitsu and martial arts, how do you think your life would be different?
I wouldn't be sitting here with you guys today. That's for sure. And I don't know. I could have went in a different direction altogether. Also,
I know 2 muggers that would feel a little bit different.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, but my dad was a tough Sicilian from the Bronx, and my father used to drive us. Now, I worked for my dad for my first 17 years in the plumbing and heating business. Right, he was not an easy man to work for, but he trained us business-wise to, hey, that fitting that's on the floor costs $2. Get it. Watch the dollars and cents. Watch it. But also, don't let anybody shit on you. Step up for yourself. When I first went to him and said, Dad, can I have money for lessons? He was like, all right. Back then, it was only $25 a month.
Yeah, now.
25 a month.
10 times that now.
Right? But, he used to say, when I come home, he'd see all the bruises and say, are you learning how to give a beating or take one? Both, Dad, both.
At this point, I don't know.
But
give me another year.
I'm learning one way or another.
Yeah.
But he listened. He was there when I got handed that certificate. My teacher spoke very highly of me, and my father was there. My mother were there, and he was very proud. You could see it in his face. Look what my son achieved, and again, and I seen my dad fight. You know, crazy story, but it's true. My brother's engagement party, we had a brawl. We were in Massapequa. And we were coming out, and a bunch of the local teenagers started trouble with us. And
not even in the party?
No, because there was a bar right next to us. And then we had a little catering hall. Mm-hmm. And as we were leaving, my younger brother was bringing gifts out to the car. And these guys started throwing bottles at.
Uh-oh.
So now, my older brother's friend, comes up to me and he said, listen, called me cuz. We got a problem in the parking lot. And I'm like, what? A couple of guys throwing bottles at your brother. We got to go out and take care of it. Because he was a little tough guy too, you know. All right, and then now there's the three of us, 3 Italian guys that are short, 5'4", 5'6". A friend of ours named Gary had long blonde hair, and white platform shoes on. Just my brother and him were in rock and roll bands, right? So you can imagine. Right?
Yeah. So he's coming out, and these punks are probably like, we're gonna wipe the floor with these guys.
There was 15 guys in the lot. We're on the steps of this place, and I'm shaking now. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, here it comes.
Here it goes. Yeah. So
now at this point, do you have a martial arts background yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I haven't attained where I was.
How long ago was this?
I had to be 19 years old.
Oh, so you were only a few years in to martial arts. Okay.
Yeah. So this big blonde haired guy calling us guinea bastards, right? Rips his shirt off. And as he's ripping his shirt off, I'm like, this guy's ripping his shirt off?
Yeah, why? Gary
down. Now, Gary was a street fighter. Jumped up, kicked him with those platform shoes right in the face. That guy went down, and there's just the 3 of us in the crowd. Punches wailing, flying, who's hitting who. A couple of the uncles came out. My dad came out. Now I saw my dad fight. He had 3 guys up against the car, taking all 3. And I'm like, oh, my God, look at him go. He scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, right? Yeah, afterwards, you're probably like, Dad, where the fuck did you learn this?
The guy was coming up from behind him with a bottle to hit him in the head. I grabbed the guy, threw him down, and said, don't you hit my old man. He turned to me and said, old man, I'll show you, old man. And he just started pounding the guys. He was upset. You called me an old man? I bet he was in his 40s at the time.
Yeah.
So needless to say,
it was just a saying.
So that's how you really got the scar in your face.
Yeah, right. So needless to say, you had some fight in you from the get go.
Yeah,
your dad had a little fight that he passed down to you,
Well, again, I told you I never gave up. Anybody that came across me, I'd fight. But I really wanted to learn the skill. And when I started training, people started to see a difference where they weren't fucking with me anymore. You know.
And they're glad they're rolling. Your friends are right now. They're glad you're rolling. I'm rolling with Frankie B.
Yeah, but you know, also a couple of them, I saved their asses.
I'm sure.
It's funny when you get that level of. I feel like the level of self-confidence creates an aura around you that people can sense.
They can feel it.
Like they can feel it. Like, all right, maybe I don't want to mess with this guy.
It's like almost like an invisible. It's like an invisible shield that you can kind of feel when you walk in someone who's extremely confident in themselves.
Right. Yeah, and exactly, and you can tell. It's like you had said. It's a sense that people can be. Oh shit, maybe I don't want to mess with that guy.
What is so if you're in an altercation?
By the way, the cigars are very good, guys. I really love the flavor. We should talk about the cigars a little bit.
I want to ask you one question about the cigars because it's a 2-parter. But the first one is there a right or a wrong time? So if you're in an altercation, right? You're at a bar, you're out. Is there a right time to walk away and the right time to engage, or that's that philosophy on?
I don't know, man. Again, I'm not out too much anymore in places, and I don't put myself in places of harm, but.
That's actually I want to pause for a second there. That's actually a very, very important point that he just said is you don't.
There we go, baby.
That's me.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Let's go.
It's actually a very important point that you said where you don't put yourself in places of harm.
Right.
I think that's a key aspect is, yes, you are capable of defending yourself to a high level. and you're probably capable of warding off a group of people if you're outnumbered.
Right.
But what's first and foremost is you don't put yourself in a situation where you have to do that.
Right.
The key is if you avoid it completely, then you never have to go there.
Yeah.
You know, and I think people don't realize that. It's like you're always going to these bars. I always say it all the time. Like, I don't want to go to these bars. Be like, oh, I want to go to this bar. I was like, I'm not going.
Yeah. Right.
Why? Because it's a bunch of drunken college idiots.
Right.
I don't want to put myself in that.
That's right.
I don't want to have to worry about maybe there's going to be a fight. I want to go to a classy joint where I don't have to, especially if I'm going with my wife. I don't want some drunken asshole coming up and now, all right, ruin my night because I got to.
Speaking of scars on your face.
Yeah.
That's how I got one on my face from exactly the lesson.
Yeah, but
just
again,
like that.
you know, as you mature in age, you realize you are going to get limitations, right? But again, you don't put yourself like, why would you want to hang out in a club unless somebody like on the subways? I'm on the subways. I got these guys coming up to me, and I just ignore them because right, what's in my head is I'm going to bust your kneecap.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just avoid it.
Yeah, so I just leave it, and you know, and when they see me, they get the look and they move on. Again, today there's a lot of young kids today that they get beer balls. You know?
Yeah.
Sure.
I remember this time reminds me of time in Manhattan. I went with my wife and I. At the time, she was my fiance, but we were going to meet a couple of friends at a bar, and I think I might have told you this story, Eric. We were going to meet a couple of friends at a bar and go have brunch at another bar and just kind of do a little day thing and then come home. And we get off the train. And this is another reason why I try to avoid the trains, especially during the day. It's not so bad, but especially at night, because you get a lot of yahoos on the train, drunken idiot. Like you get the ball the drunken balls. Is that what you call it? So anyway,
fights I've seen on a train.
Yeah, beer balls. Thank you. So you get it's during the day. We're on the train. We get off the train. We're in Penn Station. We have to walk up to street level, and then we're gonna catch a cab and go down to the thing. So we're going up the escalator, and I'm walking with my wife, and I see this guy, or apparently he's going up the escalator, and the escalator was like kind of packed. So I was like, hey, let's just take the stairs, right? We're in good shape. Let's take the stairs. So I walk up the stairs, and I make eye contact with some guy that's on the escalator. I don't think anything of it, and I just keep walking. This guy follows us, right? And now after we get off the stairs, he gets off the escalator, and he comes up, and I'm thinking, all right, it's probably a homeless guy. He's going to ask me for some money. So I just tell my wife, I'm like, listen, just ignore him. We're just going to keep walking. So he comes up, and he says something, and I just ignore him. I throw something out in the garbage, and I keep walking. This guy proceeds to follow us. Okay, now my wife and I are walking, and he's behind us. And he's, a couple of paces behind, relatively close. And he's blurting out all these profanities, all this stuff, directed at me, yelling, for whatever reason, he's yelling, go back to Jersey, fucker. And I'm like, I'm not from Jersey. I don't even know you. What are you talking about? And now he's yelling out all these other things, right? And he's even yelling some stuff at my wife. He's yelling like, oh, I should split your head open right in front of your girl. You're a pussy. All this, yelling all this stuff to me. I'm like, I've never even seen
the
you.
German missile?
I'm
They're
like,
yelling at
I've
the
never
German
seen
missile?
you before in my life, okay? And I'm like, ignore him. Just keep walking. Like maybe he'll give up and stop. We walk for 10 blocks. And I'm doing like circles because I'm like, all right, is this guy really? So we go down, I cross over, I come back, I cross over, and this guy is following us and yelling all this stuff. And in my head, right, like you had said, just ignore him. And because now I'm thinking in my head, I go, all right, I could turn around, confront this guy, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to put him on his ass. Okay? Pretty sure it's going to be a 2-hit fight. I'm going to hit him, and he's going to hit the floor. Pretty sure it's going to happen. However, so what are the consequences of that? I could turn around, he could have a gun, and now I'm fucked. I could turn around, I hit him, he cracks his head on the floor, and I'm fucked.
Right.
I said, or how do I diffuse this situation calmly? There's a group of police officers that were kind of by the train station. I said, honey, we're going to go right there. Right. We walk right to the police officers. I said, excuse me, officer, this guy behind us in the white shirt has been following us for 10 blocks. He's harassing us. I don't want to start anything. I'm just trying to catch a cab. We're trying to go. Can you guys please handle this? No problem, sir. As soon as they turn around, the guy was like, oh. And they asked him, what are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? And he's like, oh, nothing. He goes, no, I know what you're doing. Leave the fucking people alone. Leave them alone. Right. And it turns out there was another group. Apparently, he was part of like a group. I'm thinking the guy was on drugs and was kind of messed up because he was blurting out some stuff. But he was part of a group. And the group went to him and was like, hey, dude, what are you doing? Stop harassing the people. What are you doing? Cut it out. His own group, his own friends.
Oh boy.
But I'm sitting there like that, like you had said, you just avoid it. The guy on the subway, you could have cracked his kneecap. You're like, just avoid it. What's the point of that? What is the overall thing? Because you're a tough guy, you're gonna I'm gonna knock you on the floor and say, yeah, big whoop, I knocked you out. What's the point?
I mean, the other aspects is what happens if something even goes further and Kelly's just by herself now.
Right? Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm going through these things, and I'm glad that I took the time to walk around and think about this stuff, because I'm like, I have way more to lose than this fucking guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, and I'm not about to risk all that to just put him on the floor. Okay, so to your point is, you learn how to control and avoid scenarios at all, as best as you can, until there's a situation where, like those muggers, that you can't avoid it.
Right. And then, there's a point where that if you really snap and you are in trouble, then you have to do what you have to do to survive. And you have to go into that world, be able to realize it's me or them,
Fight or flight.
And again, that's why I say I learn, how to do what I have to do quick and escape.
Get out of there.
And again, my Sensei Lazarus used to say, guys, listen, you got to be careful with the law and what you know, because he was a detective, Gold Shield detective.
Yeah, because you could be in serious trouble.
Yeah, he said, first you have to make sure who's around you, what's going on. Don't be there when the attack comes. Disappear. Get out. Nobody says unless you can't. If you're surrounded all of a sudden, well, all right. What's going on. But again, like when I was caught, they didn't expect me to do what I did, because they thought I would go back and go, hey, man,
Yeah.
I saw it coming. I looked at their eyes. I saw their eyes. I saw the intent. And when you're training, you know that.
Yeah.
And
you look for the signs.
You look for the sign, and plus they, and normally when you're walking the streets, they don't want to attack someone that they may think give them a hard time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But me, when I came out, I may have been, a little disoriented, something going on, that I was distracted. But when I caught the eyes of the one dude that led, I said, oh, here it comes. And as soon as I just reacted and I went.
Yeah, instincts take over.
Yeah, and they had no clue what was going to happen.
Yeah, imagine that. I think I told you when we were at that event when we met you, is there was a gym that I used to go to, and they had a course called Impact Self-Defense Training, and the Impact was an acronym for something. I don't remember what it was, but one of the first things that they said, they go, listen, we're going to tell you, and it was not as extensive as the training that you've gone through. It was more of this simplistic self-defense, okay? How to, if somebody's, one of the things they said, like if you're a woman, right? One of the first things you go, if you can, kick them in, go for the balls. Go for the kneecaps, go for the balls, go for the throat, go for the points that you can get them down and go away. He's like, one of the guys said, listen, guys have a soft spot. Kick them in the nuts. He goes, there's no rules in street fighting. There's no rules. If they got hair, rip the hair out. If he's a guy, kick him in the nuts. And I don't care how big you are, you're going to go down. Okay.
Listen.
But one of the things that he had said before all of that, said avoid it. He goes, because your main goal is to get home to your family.
Right.
If you get caught in a pinch and you're not as extensively trained as you, and they say, give me all your money, fine. What do you got? A couple $100 on you? They may walk away. And if they walk away, great. You're out $200, but you're home to your wife and your family.
You want to hear something funny? My wife, many years ago, was doing kickboxing. Now, I could never teach her because she'd always giggle and laugh. You know what I mean?
She thinks you guys are like play fighting, and you go, honey, I'm trying to.
She went for kickboxing, and she was fit, and being a gymnast, she can get her legs up, kick high. And she was hitting the bag, working the bag, and going 3 nights a week. So she goes over to Fire Island with her girlfriends one night. They go to Flynn's.
Oh,
right?
boy.
Now there's a guy harassing them. And they're like, leave us alone. And the guy's getting really nasty with them. So the guy did something to my wife. She stepped up and did something. She punched him 2 times in the nose and broke his nose. He went back. The bouncers came running over and grabbed her. But they got her away from him. He went back and blood was all, and then they grabbed him. The bouncer said, "I was watching." He told her, "I was watching out for you, but you went."
But really I didn't need to.
But they grabbed the guy, and threw him out.
That guy was probably stunned. Oh, what the heck?
She blasted him, and meanwhile, she's 5 foot tall.
Just a 1-2, 1-2 right to the nose.
Boom, boom, because hitting the bag.
Her hand probably hurt afterwards. I guarantee.
No, she didn't. She said
really?
it was fine. No, she was fine.
Good for her. Good for her, man.
But
so I was always gonna say, like, there's a big difference between hitting somebody and hitting a bag.
Right. But still, she just went in to defend. Right.
Yeah, because she probably knew. Like, listen, if I don't, you actually had said that too when we first met. Is something along the lines of strike first. Something along the lines like that, like where if you see this is coming, like if you know something's about to happen, you hit first.
Right.
Don't because the person who hits first has the advantage. Right. So you had said when somebody got jumped, you just went first because you're like, listen, I know this is about to happen, so I'm gonna be the first one to make this move. Right. Because this is not avoidable at this point. So she probably saw the same thing. Like, listen, if I don't make the first move, this guy's probably a lot bigger. Yes, I can defend myself, but if he makes first move, I'm probably out.
Right.
So I'm going to make the first move.
Right.
So I know that I'm safe.
Yes.
And we'll figure it out later.
Yeah. Well, she blew them away. It was the bouncers were like,
Imagine you should work for us.
Well, yeah, be quiet. He fucking deserved it. He deserved it. Leave the women alone, man.
Of course he did.
You're a scumbag. Leave him alone. So let's transition here into the real transition, not that type of transition. Okay. Let's talk about cigars.
Right.
Okay. So how did you start? When did you start smoking? How'd you get into cigars?
I got to tell you how I started.
Okay.
I had a godfather, a 350-pound Italian man from the city named Mungo.
His name was Mungo.
Mungo.
Uncle Mungo.
Not uncle. He was my godfather.
Okay.
Mungo the Godfather.
Okay, so he used to smoke cigars all the time. And he used to we used to call them the guinea stinkers, the Donables.
Yeah.
That's my mom. My mom's grandfather used to call them all the time.
But every time I saw him, he had these big-ass cigars. And like, Mungo, can I have? He gave me one, and I started. My father's like, get out of here. Don't give him this cigar.
Your father didn't smoke?
He smoked Lucky Strike.
Oh, okay. So he smoked cigarettes.
Yeah. After he had his heart attack, that was it.
He quit, yeah. My grandfather was the same way.
But that's how I started getting into cigars, because of him. Many years later, I'd always go, hey, a wedding, let's get a cigar,
So at that time, it was occasional. Yeah.
But what really started getting was when I was going to where the General was, which was called the Club Havana.
Mm-hmm.
At Eisenhower Park? That's a beautiful spot, by the way.
Yeah.
The new one is beautiful.
Yeah, I'm a member there, too.
He's going to have to take us one night to that spot.
Yeah.
You'd love it.
Oh, God.
We could go for dinner because my friend is the manager at the restaurant. Actually, she does the catering events. But she knows the restaurant. We go there and then you go to the cigar room. It's a great spot.
You can eat up in the cigar room.
Oh, it's a great spot.
You can eat up there.
Yeah.
You don't have to go downstairs.
Great spot. Great spot. That guy, what's his guy's name? Nico, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I started going there 8-9 years ago. And that was my Friday night spot. I'd drive from Sayville, go there, hang out.
Drove all the way from Sayville.
Yeah, and I'd eat and drink and have a couple of cocktails and meet some friends there. And I started meeting a lot of different people there. I did that for years until COVID and that closed down. And then the General took, 2 years for them to reopen when they did the General.
Yeah, because they're redoing it.
But I was
used to be the Carlton was the restaurant.
Carlton, yeah. But that's when I really started getting into it more. I found it relaxing. After my work week, the stress reduction, I would go there and just chill out and
Keyword stress reduction.
Yeah.
That's it, baby.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
You unwind, you relax.
Right. And then you meet people, and there was the entertainer that used to sing. It was Johnny. Got to know him.
He sang at the club?
Yeah, he sang downstairs at the restaurant.
At the Carlton, yeah.
Yeah, he's like a Frank Sinatra, D. Martin guy.
I wonder if he's still
He's still around, but I think he's supposed to start singing there. I heard soon.
I wonder does he happen to sing in the city as well or no? No?
I'm not really sure.
Because there's a guy that sings at the Carnegie Club in Manhattan that has Sinatra Saturdays, and he sings Frank Sinatra, and you close your eyes, it's him. It sounds just like him. I was curious if it was the same gentleman, but
well, anyway, I meet new people. We hang out. It closed early, so you're not there late. Latest I left one night was 1:00. But still, I'd get there at 6. That's a long time. We hang
from
out
6 to 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
It's a long time.
I smoke 4 or 5 cigars.
Hell yeah.
And just hang out.
Hell yeah, brother.
Because you get into conversation. You know how long that can be.
Oh, and I mean, right now we've been going for over an hour.
Right.
I mean, halfway through a stogie, man.
So we, again, that's really then Long Island Cigar opened up.
And that was you.
That's right by my house.
Yeah, now that's a blessing right there.
So now I go there and I hang out there for a few hours. I had some good nights there, like when you guys were there that night. That happened to be a good night. And then they throw little events all the time.
Yeah.
Good people hanging out in there. A couple of, everybody sharing their liquor or whatever they got. It comes out.
See, that's a beautiful thing about cigar culture.
Yeah.
Is you go to lounges like that, everybody's hanging out. People come, hey, yo, what are you doing? You want a little, hey, give him a little glass. Take mine, what do you do? Hey, you want some, hey, try this, try this. Everybody's they're all just hanging out.
You guys know Tito, right?
Yeah, of course. I call him Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Because he's always giving out chocolate to everybody. I call him Willy Wonka. Yeah. He's that
a great guy, man.
Every time I see him, he's got a bag of chocolate. You want a piece of chocolate? You want a piece of chocolate?
I think last time we were there, he was giving me chocolate covered espresso beans, and I was
I call him Willy Wonka. He's always got chocolate on him.
Yeah, Tito is a good man.
He's the can, and he's always got great shoes too. His shoes are always pretty cool. He's got like these red velvet.
And he's always got the exclusive cigars. Like before they even get released, he's like, "No, I got them already." I'm like, "I bought a box."
He's a good dude.
Well, he's good. He's good. He recommend good cigars.
Yeah, I remember him from. He used to go to Matadors a lot, and then now he goes to Long Island, I imagine. But yeah, it's funny. The Candy Man. He's always and I always appreciate it too because chocolate and cigars is a great combination.
So good.
Yeah.
You get the creaminess and the sweetness from the chocolate, and then you get some of the dryness and the spiciness from the cigar. And it's so anytime, like, I'd walk in, Tito, you got a piece of dark chocolate? Of course I got a piece. He pull out his backpack or whatever is his little bag, and he's always got the stuff. It's great.
Yeah, and Eddie's nice. One of the owners, and Joe, they're good guys.
Yep.
Shout out to Long Island Cigar.
I just delivered them. I had a ice maker at home that I wasn't using, a portable ice maker, and I donated it to them. Because the one they had was you throw in a drink, it dissolved in 2 seconds. I said, guys, we need Now I'm trying to get them to hook up a water line to it.
Oh, so it just makes
Well, they know a plumbing guy.
Exactly. You should tell him. I guess I know a great guy. who would get you a good deal on plumbing.
Yeah, I don't.
What's his name? His name Frank Bonanno.
I don't run with the tools anymore, though.
I love it. So what are we at? We're at an hour and 10 minutes. Man.
No, but you guys got nice
fast.
cigars. Your brand is nice.
Wait till you come out with the next. This is the next one that we actually just finalized the label.
Yeah.
So the next one that's coming out is going to be the same exact size. You can see it's the same exact size, but it's a Connecticut wrapper.
Yep.
A little bit of a different blend, Connecticut wrapper, and the label it's going to be the same look, but it's going to be red and a different name, obviously. So we just finalized the whole design for the label, the box, and everything. So we got to place the order next week, but hopefully that'll be out by April if everything works out.
Mo's right.
But you're going to have to try that one.
Yeah, I'd like to.
It's going to be it's a good stick. It's a good stick.
So how often do you have a cigar? Every day?
No. Usually once or twice a week.
So what can you tell the people about the misconception of being fit, like, in jiu-jitsu and enjoying cigars at the same time?
Well, again, I do it. Again, to me, I enjoy smoking it. It's, to me, it's really a nice thing to do. Again, it all depends on where you're going to do it and who you're meeting. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the whole ambiance of the
social
cigar,
aspect.
the social, yeah. And you really have to find a cigar you like, and sometimes that takes a long time.
Yeah.
You know, I've tried a lot of different cigars, and some of them are too strong. You know,
and you'll know,
like
right?
The flavor in my mouth. You know,
and I always tell people too that if you're interested in trying a new cigar, if you don't like the first time you had it, wait a little bit, try it again, right. Because sometimes you might have eaten something, you might not be in the right mindset, you might be maybe what you're drinking doesn't really match with it, and the cigar for whatever reason might not taste good on that day.
Right.
So I said, give it a little time, try it again,
I can see that.
And then if you don't like it the second time, okay, maybe you don't like that cigar. But you could also have a bad box. It could be too tightly rolled by accident. Maybe the humidor wasn't kept right. So a whole bunch of factors. So I said, try it twice. Yeah. But you're right. Takes a little time.
But
once you find that one.
You know, again, I've been down to Tampa. I bought handmade cigars in Tampa. Tried them. Some of them were pretty good that they were rolling. I was in Ybor City. And they have a lot of little cigar.
Is that Tampa Sweethearts is down there, right?
Little Havana over there.
Little Havana,
okay.
Yeah, and New York, there's a guy, I think, on 29th Street between
Martinez.
7th and 6th.
Is that Martinez?
Is that Martinez cigars?
Yeah.
Right by Long Island.
Right by the
Penn Station.
Yeah.
Martinez.
I bought a few of his, and they're rolling them right there.
Yeah.
He
Nice
does.
little
I
spot.
think he sent us a couple of his, right?
Yeah, over the
years.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, again for me, and being in business, I've been to Havanas in Manhattan, where I've had Al Sharpton sitting to the right of me and Giuliani sitting to the left of me.
Yeah.
You know, and
that
I'm
place,
like, look
that
at
place
this place.
was,
And then you look at the humidors, there's Bill Clinton. It was
Arnold, I think, had
Cuomo,
one in there.
Governor Cuomo's.
Cuomo had one in there.
Yeah.
Giuliani was in there. A lot of the athletes, some like the Knicks players. I think Starks even had one at one point when he was there. There's a lot of
But again, you go out with the right group of people, and to me, it's again. Listen, I'm not a fanatic where I do things because I enjoy doing them.
Yeah.
If I'm training and working out, that's one thing. But you know.
And this and smoking cigars doesn't hinder your stamina or your training at all.
No.
Because I've been asked that quite a bit. People assume that when you smoke cigars, that hurts your stamina, that hurts your fitness, that hurts your. I go, no, I haven't felt
Makes it better.
I haven't felt the effects at all.
Yeah.
At all. Right. Obviously, I told you before, when I was playing basketball in college, I smoked occasionally. Yeah. Right. But after my later years in college, I started getting more into cigars, and now it's obvious. But
when I was playing softball, I would have a cigar out in the outfield.
Oh yeah, no, but exactly, right. But and then afterwards, I continued in these rec leagues that I would play in, but I was now a cigar smoker. I would be smoking on a regular basis. It didn't hinder me at all. Didn't hinder the strength in the gym.
No.
Didn't hinder the endurance. I'd be like, didn't change at all.
I had one doctor tell me, you got to be careful. You get mouth cancer from cigar smoke.
Yeah, it's a little bullshit.
And that's I'm like, come on.
How?
No.
I said, you know what? I could see a guy who's chewing tobacco.
Yes.
I don't know. I said, but I go home, I brush my teeth right away. I got to try, clean myself up.
Of course.
You got to do that. It's personal hygiene.
We've actually read a number of studies on how cigar use, occasional cigar use, has nil effect on your health long term.
Yeah.
They've done studies on multiple tens of thousands of people over the course of 20 years. Yeah. They compared, people that don't do anything is the baseline.
Right.
Then there's people that smoke cigarettes, people that smoke cigars, people that smoke a pack a day of cigarettes, people that smoke 1 cigar a day, 1 cigar a week, 5 cigars a day. They have all these different categories. Right. And those that smoked cigars, only cigars, whatever the frequency, unless you were smoking 10 a day, it had no effect. on you. If you're smoking 10, but if you're doing 10 a day of anything, like if you're doing 10,
that's
I would argue that if you're drinking 10 Coca-Colas a day, it has more harm than smoking 10 cigars,
100%.
right?
So what is your favorite drink with a cigar?
Coffee.
You like coffee?
Coffee, yes.
How about you?
Same.
Really?
Yes.
If I'm doing alcohol, it's bourbon.
Yeah.
Bourbon.
Justin and
I
I are
like
very
Crown
similar.
Royal.
Justin
Crown
and I are very
Royal?
Yeah, I like
My
Crown
father-in-law likes Crown Royal.
Royal. Yeah, I like that.
You like the sweetness.
Yeah.
Which is actually that's interesting because I used to drink Grand Marnier with a cigar.
I've had Grand Marnier too.
That's a good pairing too because of the sweetness.
Yep.
Same reason why I like
It's
the
got a nice
chocolate.
little bite to it, but it also nice.
Yeah, you can't have too many of those though.
No.
Yeah, I got drunk on that once and it was not a good morning.
Yeah.
That sugar gets you.
Yeah, the coffee and the cigars for us are the best. It's the bean belt and the tobacco belt. I always say.
You know what I think adds to it too is coffee is a very relaxing drink. A nice hot cup of coffee, especially on a cold day like today, on a warm cup of coffee is very relaxing. A cigar is very relaxing. So when you put the two together, it's a little afternoon on a Saturday and it's cold. Yeah. And you're sitting there, you have a cup of coffee in the stove. You are at peace. You are at complete peace.
Do you smoke cigars with your sons or any who do you
My
like
son,
smoking cigars with?
He'll smoke occasionally with me, but he's really not into it.
Mm.
Who I usually go is when I go to LIC.
LIC boys.
That's it. Or
hang out with Willy Wonka.
If I go down at a General, whoever's there,
I gotta go to the General.
I have a friend that meets me there who lives in Garden City. He doesn't smoke at all.
He just meets you for the
meets
company.
me. We hang out, we talk, we catch up.
That's still great. The chemistry's still there. I mean, it's almost like he's smoking a cigar.
Yeah,
right.
I love it.
You're there for one reason.
Well, I appreciate that he does show because he's not a smoker.
That's exactly.
But
it.
Again, what the places, since I'm in the HVAC business, these guys need to really know how to use their filtration systems.
Because we got to put one.
What do you think of ours?
Yeah, you see the cloud of smoke sitting in these places. They're not working.
Yep.
This should be gone. You should be taken out.
What do you think? What do you think of our filtration system?
Yeah, well, you need some help here.
We got
a little bit of a ghetto exhaust in the.
So let me ask, because you're in the business. We were thinking, well, there's a couple of different options that we could do, right? We could do one of those rabbit airs or the Medify air filters that go on the wall. Yeah. I've heard mixed reviews about them. The other thing we could do is install a vent, right? I mean, we're in a pool house. It's not hard to drill a hole in the wall and put an exhaust fan that blows out in two directions. Do you think, how much do you think we would need? Would it be a small fan like in the wall? Would you need a big fan, circular fan? How would you? You
just need something to move 200 CFM.
200 C. So how big? What kind of unit is that? I'm not familiar with HVAC.
It'll be small. What size room is this?
Probably 12 by 15, something like that.
I would say 12.
150 square feet, maybe something like that. So, less than 200 square feet.
In here, 3/4 ton. You can get a split system for in here for heating and cooling. Right, and then have an exhaust fan in the wall, because what you should do is run makeup air in here where you're bringing outside air and circulating all the time.
So do you have one fan that's blowing in, the other fan blowing out?
The same one is in and out.
Okay.
And it's the winter time you're tempering it, the summertime you're cooling it. Right?
Okay, I was just going to ask about that because that's one of the things. Right now, we just have a fan that blows air out.
Right.
And it. I'll be quite honest. Without it, it gets. I mean, it's a little smoky in here now, but without it, it's bad. It's very bad.
But if you're going to be doing this a lot in here, I would definitely do a right system in here.
Now, what does something like that run?
Well, you're going to be talking about maybe $10,000
to set that up
for you.
Now, let me ask you about this. What about just the filtration? So just to exhaust the smoke out.
Then you can get an exhaust fan for $1,500, a decent one.
And would you put that in the wall on the side?
You could put it in the wall. You could put it on the roof.
Just suck the air out.
Yeah,
and put it right there.
You should put it right here and just suck the air right out.
And it'll have the little hood on the top of the.
Yeah, but it won't be a real fast one. You don't want it because you want it to be very subtle, but have because if you put too much, you're gonna feel it.
Yeah, you're gonna suck it. Yeah.
Right,
We
so
also
it has
don't
to-
want to be. It's tough too because then you suck a lot of the heat out.
Yeah.
Which is where you get the split unit that you can.
Get the heat all in here.
Yeah. So we there's ways we have
There's
to.
a couple of ways of doing
couple
it.
ways
But,
to do it.
it's what's easy on the pocket.
It's from my stepfather built converted the garage into a man cave. So he had a garage where my parents live, and he just put the garage door down and sealed it, locked it, and then built a wall in front of it. So like behind the wall is the garage, but it's just completely sealed off. And what he has is he put a ventilation system, a little fan, but we also there was an attic in the garage. So whenever we and up in the attic is where the unit is, and it sucks the air out, and then it goes out through the roof. But anytime we're smoking in there, just to add a little bit of help, he just pulls the attic door down a little bit. Just a little bit. And he cracks it so it's like a big gaping hole that the smoke goes up into the attic.
Yeah, suck right out.
And it works fine. Like he turns the fan on, he pulls the I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, just trust me. He pulls the attic down, so you just got the attic hanging out like this. We're just sitting there smoking cigars. Goes right up, man.
Yeah, the attic
Goes right
fan,
up.
definitely, they're good. Yeah, I mean, you just need something like, again, if you're pulling air, you got to bring air in.
Yeah.
But the split system is not bringing outside air in. It's just circulating air in here, right?
So it's taking the smoke out.
Yeah,
and
no,
then-
it's
fresh
really
air.
not. It's you have a filter on it, but it's not. You need an exhaust to exhaust it out.
Yeah, we would need an exhaust. I actually looked into they sell these electric baseboard heaters that look like baseboard heating, but they're electric. They just plug into an outlet.
Right.
And we thought about getting a couple because, to be quite honest, these fans that we have, these little heater fans, they take the chill out of the air. They don't heat it to 70 degrees, but right now outside it's 32. It does not feel like 32 in here.
No.
60
It's
degrees.
warm up here. It's cold down here.
Yeah, I can feel.
Obviously, heat rises.
But there's ways we can do an exhaust or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, Frank, I think we're coming to the end here.
That's it.
Little hour and 20 minutes. But this is the time that we like to give you the red carpet to let people know, where they can find you, right? If you're on social media, if they want to be a student, where they can find your class, where they can take your class, how they can find you, if you have a website or anything like that. If there's any events that you're doing, you said you're doing something in Manhattan.
Correct.
This is kind of the time to plug away.
Okay.
And the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I teach out of my house in Sayville. So the best thing anybody is to call me at 631-523-7574. I do privates and semi-privates at my house. I'm also teaching in Woodhaven, Queens. I'm off of 78th Street. So again, if they want to find that location, just call me. And we're having an event March 3rd. This is called DaosCon 4.
Oh, Deadly Art of Survival,
Right.
DAOS. Okay.
And I will be there with giving out handouts. There's going to be seminars, people there. It's a great event to meet other martial artists. Got people that are in the magazines, present and past magazines.
Is it all different forms of martial
It's
art?
all different
Okay.
forms of martial arts. Some of the top guys in the Northeast will be there. So again, it's a great event to participate in and see. And you can see a lot of people, Again, I'll be there. And again, they should just reach me at my number,
Awesome. Are you on Instagram, on social media at all?
I have a Facebook page.
Okay.
Called, I have mine and plus my club name, which is called Dainan Wanru Ju-Jitsu and Judo.
Okay, we'll have to get that and put that on the in the description below.
Right.
But all right, awesome. Well, thank you again, Frank, for joining us
Glad
here.
you finally came on.
Yeah, on the Burnout
Thank you,
Podcast.
guys.
It was a
And
great
thank you for
conversation.
following up. Thank you for following up.
It was
I appreciate that.
Yes,
Yeah.
And it was a great conversation. This was you're the first martial artist that we've had on our show, and I know very little about martial arts. Eric knows very little about martial arts. I know the extent of my heavy bag in my garage.
I know nothing about martial arts. Put it
I know
that
how to
way.
box a little bit. That's about what I know.
All I know now is don't lean forward.
Or backwards.
Or backwards, yeah. Stay balanced. But Frank, thank you very much for joining us on the
guys,
Burnout
I
Podcast.
appreciate
It was an
I
absolute
appreciate
pleasure.
it. Thank you.
Everybody, be sure to check out Frank on. You can give him a call, and if you want to be a student of his, check out the event that's coming up on March 3rd. You said
March 3rd
March
at
3rd.
155 Grand Street.
155 Grand
Manhattan.
Street in Manhattan.
Yeah, Manhattan.
Frank, you're the man. We appreciate you. We won't cheers with water, but we like to say cheers, chin chin, and salute. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. We'll see you on the next one.